Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Bridgman, and this is a very, very special episode of the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle YouTube show and podcast. Today, you guys, I have the luxury, the real benefit of bringing somebody onto the show who is not only an incredible business person, not only a genius investor, not only someone who has accomplished some amazing things in their life, but they're also a true and empowering philanthropist. They are an incredibly heartfelt and heart-centered individual who care nothing more than giving back to the world, way more than they've ever received. And for all of their incredible work, they've been knighted by the royal family of Spain, and they've joined the world order. Today, you guys, I have the luxury and the privilege of bringing onto the show the amazing Sir Darren Jacklin. Sir Darren, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Michael, I'm grateful to be here and make a difference and be in service. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. So welcome to the show. Our audience is super excited to soak up some information, to learn from you a little bit. But let's get started because it turns out that you and I are kind of neighbors. We're actually not that far from each other.
Yeah,
right?
We're close in proximity, absolutely.
Yeah, so Darren's about an hour drive away from where I am, guys. So tell them where you are, sir.
Yeah, so I'm based West Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and also Vernon, British Columbia, Canada. So make my way between Vancouver and the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia. So yeah, just love it. Love traveling, love making a difference, and love seeing people.
Beautiful, my friend, beautiful. And those are some pretty spots. Like you and I can both agree that this is a pretty part of the world.
It is, absolutely. Yeah, whether it's in Vancouver or the Okanagan Valley of British Columbia, Canada, is two spectacular places. And I do it by design because of lifestyle.
Yeah. So now, before we dive into kind of all the nitty gritty and stuff like that, people are going to wonder, Sir Darren Jacklin, like, where does that come from? How does that even happen? I mean, when we were doing our preliminary interview, that was one of the first things I was like, how does somebody become a sir? Like, I thought you had to be, in some royal family, but it turns out there's other ways. So how did this actually happen?
You just write a check. No, I'm just kidding. You can't buy your way into this. This is something you earn through your integrity, your reputation, your character, and years of a lot of adversities and failures and challenges and setbacks and hustle and grit. And then over time, you get noticed. And so as I was traveling the world, I used to be a corporate trainer for 25 years, used to travel 276 days a year globally. And so I've attended a lot of seminars and workshops and conferences over the years. I've also attended a lot of charity events because I believe that my success is someone else's miracle. And I just love making a difference. And I love people. So, I'm over in Monaco and over in Dubai and over in London, England, and different countries all around the world. And of course, as human beings, all we are is a network of conversations. So I'm networking and meeting and collaborating with people from all walks of life. And I've met different people from royal families in some invitation-only events over the years at some very prestigious or influential events. So a few years ago, I got a phone call, actually during COVID-19, that I'd been nominated to the Royal Order. And my name was not once, but twice submitted to a Royal Order. And there was over 400 people globally that were nominated. So kind of like a Nobel Peace Prize, you get nominated by somebody who's already in the Royal Order, one of the royal families. And then they nominate you. Then there's a whole committee that goes through a background check, a social media audit. They do due diligence on you, reference checks, all that stuff, because they want to do a deep dive to make sure that, you've got no skeletons in your closet and that you're an integral person and you're a good member of society and standing and that you have a good
no parking tickets or anything like that. No speeding tickets.
I may be outstanding with Blockbuster Video years ago with some late rental fees with Blockbuster Video. Right?
Oh, that's going to date us right there, Darren. That's going to date us.
I'm just being honest and being in integrity, right? Transparency, right?
And, so you got nominated, and it was by a member of the Spanish royal family, right?
Yeah. So I'm nominated by a gentleman out of the U.S. who's actually with the Royal Order. He's a sir, and another lady who's a dame or lady. And so then get introduced to them, and it's about a 4 to 6 month process. For me, it was 6 months from start to finish. Deep dive of due diligence. They do a social media audit on you to make sure that you're not, politically grandstanding or bashing people or trashing people or bullying people. They do police background checks on you. They have private investigators that do checks on you. There's a very thorough checklist of due diligence on you. There's 8 different categories, and the 2 categories that I was chosen as was global philanthropy and global entrepreneurship or business.
Wow.
And so that was, but there's categories on arts and entertainment, the sciences, I think political stuff. So there's different 8 categories. I only know the 2 that I was in. That's what I focused on.
Mm-hmm.
And so of the 400 plus people that were nominated, they selected 24 people for the world. There was 15 men and 9 women, 2 Canadians, few Americans, and the rest from all over the world. And so this all happened during the global pandemic of COVID-19. So I couldn't travel to the country of Spain. So everything was being done on Zoom video conferencing and email and WhatsApp. And then I was able to fly to the United States. So we actually agreed to meet in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I flew down to Las Vegas, met with the royal family down there. And as
the Spanish royal family, you met them in Vegas?
In Las Vegas. Yeah, in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah. And as things were unfolding, going through the discovery and the due diligence process, I realized, okay, I'm getting shortlisted here because the questions were getting deeper. They were asking more questions. And then I started getting telephone calls from friends of mine saying, hey, Darren, why is somebody investigating you? Why is somebody doing a reference check on you? What's this about? And of course, I was sworn to secrecy to not say anything during the 6-month process that I was being candidated for potentially being knighted by the royal family.
So what would you say? Would you say like, I don't know why?
Well, good question.
I can't tell you? Or
yeah, so I delayed the text messages and the voicemail response and the emails. I reached out to the royal order and I say, what do I do in this situation? I want to be in integrity, but I don't want to lie to people. I don't want to embellish or exaggerate things. I want to be in integrity because people can see right through me. You've known me for years, like, Darren, that doesn't make any sense. That's weird. Like, come on, Darren, what's really going on here? Come on.
You've got one of those faces.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a terrible liar, right? That's why I can't play poker and that stuff. I'm a terrible liar. I started sweating and nervous and shaking and some of that. So I just believe in just telling the truth. Otherwise, my face will go red and I won't sweat and start shaking.
Okay.
And so the thing was, I said to people, I said, listen, I'm being interviewed right now for another board of directors or advisory board position, because I serve on some different paid boards of directors at public and private companies and advisory boards. And so they're like, okay, no problem. They get it, right? Because they know I'm in boards and advisory boards. And then once I got the official letter from the Royal Order of Cappadocia, and I realized, okay, this is legit. So then I went down and I have the sword, I have the plaque, I have the whole Royal Order gala. You'll see on some of my social media posts, you'll see me with the Royal Order crest. When I'm at formal events, I dress as a royal because I'm now a knight. And so now in 2024, I'm actually being trained and developed and mentored to actually become the ambassador for the whole country of Canada for the Royal Order and the royal family.
Wow.
And
very
so
cool.
I'll meet with the Attorney General of Canada, the different Attorney Generals across the provinces, and I'll have a seat at the table and some doors open to some very influential people across the country, which is great because it allows me, because my heart is all about contribution and philanthropy and entrepreneurship and doing humanitarian work. And so Tatiana and I have an international foundation where we build schools around the world for some of the most impoverished children on the planet. We have E2E Elevate to Educate, which is our hiking fundraiser where we bring people together to hike. So to me, at first when I got knighted, I'm thinking, I don't want to tell anybody. I don't want to put Sir Darren Jacklin in front of my name, sir. And be like, oh my gosh, Darren, that would be a disservice to humanity if you didn't do that. Because a lot of people, we see on television or on the internet or in the magazines or movies, somebody who's part of the Royal Order, right? Some secret society thing. But listen, these people, they're very loving, charitable, contributing people. And the thing is, there's benefits and drawbacks, right? People always ask me, what's it like to meet the royal people? Listen, we have a lot more freedom than they do, right? You and I can walk to a Starbucks or go to a coffee shop, walk down the street, don't have to have security detail. I mean, some of these people have to have security detail 24/7 wherever they go. They live in a security bubble. We don't have to have that. Yeah. So there's benefits and drawbacks to things. And they get access to people and access to opportunities that the majority of people don't. But I look at how I can leverage those opportunities to be a greater good to humanity in terms of serving humanity. So I do it for a force for good in a positive way to serve humanity and make a contribution to the world. But it's been an incredible 18 months since I've been knighted, just going through that process and realizing that, I can be a positive role model and a positive influence, but also consider this is that when you get that spotlight on you at that level, there's a lot more visibility, a lot more exposure. And what I realized from that is the importance of always being, integral in everything that I do, which is very, very important. So never assume you're not being observed. And that's the thing is that, people always have a backstory, a come up story, and a success story. And as you're on the come up, be mindful of that you're always being watched and always being observed. Behavior never lies, right? Behavior never lies. And so I always feel that if you're just being transparent and honest and integral with people, in life, time will either promote you or time will expose you. It's just a matter of time. And I'm all about getting promoted versus getting exposed.
I love that. I love that. And because I think there's this element, Darren, too, that a lot of people, they have an inferiority complex,
Yes, for sure.
right? Like they have this thing where it's like it's gnawing at. I was talking to a client just this morning, and he was second guessing himself about some of the offers that he wants to make, and it's like, man, you've got everything you need. Like you are well beyond that, but there's this element of erosion to the confidence. Do you think part of that comes from the idea that it's a long haul to practice what you preach, and
Well,
your behavior
sure.
can sometimes undermine your own confidence?
Well, I'll give you a practical example, right?
Yeah.
So here I am back in the 1990s. I'm making 400 cold calls a day, 2,000 cold calls a week out of the telephone books, calling
Yeah.
companies from A to Z to sell my corporate training services. Okay.
Okay.
And so here I am, insecure, lacking self-confidence, financially broke, right? Struggling financially to pay my bills on time. I've got an R9 credit rating. I'm in overdraft. I owe people money, friends and family. And I go down to the Staples in the Office Depot at nighttime in the recycling bins. I dive into the recycling bins and I'm pulling out cardboard boxes that say Microsoft or Intel. I go to the grocery stores behind the garbage bins and I'm pulling out Kellogg's, PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, and I take all these cardboard brand names and I take my scissors and my X-Acto knife, I cut them out. I go home and I start creating vision boards in my one-bedroom apartment of all these Fortune 500 companies of all their logos. Then I sit down at nighttime and I start at number 250 and count down to number one of 250 reasons why I'm smart enough, good enough, worthy enough, deserving enough for me to be able to be paid money to go into a corporation with no formal academic education, a guy who barely passed public high school, no university, no college, no MBA, no PhD, D student, grade point average 54%, to go into these companies that they would qualify and protect and invest their time to pay me to put me in front of their decision makers, their centers of influence, their best in class people in their company for a corporate training seminar. And when I would go and write down 250 reasons and benefits to build my belief and confidence, and this is an uncomfortable experience.
Yeah.
Like really confronting. And there's sometimes it took me 3, 4, 5 weeks, 6 weeks just to come up with 250 reasons for Coca-Cola. Well, I'll tell you what, from 1995 to the year 2015.
So walk me back for 1 second, and you would have the logo, and then you have 250 reasons why you should do this for Coke.
On my bedroom wall. In my one-bedroom apartment.
Have Kellogg's, and then 250 reasons for Kellogg's.
Correct. And then Coca-Cola,
so they're all
Pepsi.
separate lists.
Yeah. So check this out. From 1995 to the year 2015, I ended up developing over 1 million people in live corporate training seminars in 50 countries on 4 continents. And I personally trained 157 Fortune 500 companies from doing that exercise.
Amazing.
So I'd be on an airplane, or I'd be in a hotel room, or I'd be on a layover waiting to go on a flight because it's delayed. And I'm sitting there with my earbuds in, listening to inspiring music, writing down 250 reasons why I'm smart enough, good enough, worthy enough, deserving enough. And I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it to confront my fear. I didn't want to. It was not convenient. It was uncomfortable. But what I discovered through this process was I committed to my commitments, even when it's inconvenient. Even when I'm jet lagged, even when I don't feel like it, even when I'm tired, even when I'm stressed, even when I'm overwhelmed, even when I'm completely exhausted, am I still committed to my commitments? And that's the key thing as an entrepreneur or business person. When things get hard, when things get challenging, are you going to fall through and do complete work and commit to your commitment? So I'll give you an example, practical example. I do a lot of hiking. Okay, and I have an organization called Elevate to Educate where we build schools, bring people up for hike. And I have many people that want to take me for breakfasts and lunches and dinners and collaborate with me, pick my brain and some of that. And I'm like, listen, I don't want to go for lunch or dinner. Let's go for a hike. Let's get some fresh air. Let's be out in nature. And it's just much more inspiring in terms of multiplying and expanding our energy when on a hike. So I have many people. Okay, so I send them a calendar invitation. They know the date, the time, the location, the hiking trail, everything like that. And it's accommodating towards their hiking style, whether beginner, intermediate, advanced, or expert level.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Then all of a sudden the weather changes in Vancouver, for example, right? It's rainy, it's cloudy, it's overcast. Exactly. Then all of a sudden people are a no-show. And then all of a sudden a week or 2 weeks later, they reach out to me through LinkedIn, through Messenger, say, hey, can we get together for lunch and dinner? I'm saying, hold on a second, wait a second here. You're stepping over the out of integrity that you gave your word to. You gave your word to say that you would meet me at this time, this date, this location. You didn't follow through because it was raining out and you didn't want to get wet on the hike. Even though we're in a canopy of trees, we don't have much exposure. You're pretty dry in the canopy of trees. But you chose not to communicate in advance by managing your word, which is managing your integrity, which is managing the expectations of the relationship. So that I get to know you, like you, and trust you and want to refer you because you're a reliable human being. And now you're stepping over that out of integrity and wanting to get back on my calendar, but not completing the out of integrity over here. Behavior never lies.
And so that's for you, that's a huge red flag.
Because here's the thing, without integrity, nothing works.
Right.
Here, I'll give you an example. My biggest mistakes in business is either number one, hiring people that have selective or no integrity, or partnering with somebody who over time gets exposed rather than promoted because they don't have integrity. I got sued one time because I was the one that had money and my partner didn't have any money. He was flat broke, but played a big game on social media, like living the life, selling the sizzle, selling the dream to everybody. Everybody thought he had lots of money. And the interesting part was that he was really good at saying yes to things, but not following through and following through on completion. He was a yes guy. Yes to everything, but stuck in process, but not execution. And so what I always share with people now is, so what I've learned from practical experience, number one is have women on your team and always trust women's intuition. Listen, it's cost me it's cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars in mistakes of cleaning up messes, hundreds of thousands of dollars over my lifetime because I didn't listen to women's intuition. Now, I have a 3-step process when I listen to women's intuition. And all my teams are all women, a lot of women, because I trust women because women have an intuition. Okay. Now we play this game that I'll share with you. It's called, are you calm? Step number 1, are you calm? Step number 2, are you cautious? Or step number 3, are you nervous? So calm, cautious, or nervous. Okay. So I always ask the ladies, okay, ladies, right now, if we're going to hire this person or do a joint venture or invest in this business or get involved in this company or buy this accounting or bookkeeping firm through an acquisition, are you calm, cautious, or nervous? And I go around and I ask them, calm, great, green light, cautious, yellow light, red, nervous. So if it's calm, we proceed. If it's yellow, do more discovery process, do more due diligence, ask more questions, do a deeper dive. If they're nervous, red light, we complete the deal. We're done. We walk away.
Interesting.
Calm, cautious. Same thing. Give you an example. When you go to, let's say, example, somebody approaches and says, "Hey, guess what, Michael? I want you to invest in this cryptocurrency deal, and you got to write a check today. You're going to wire me some money." Are you calm, cautious, or nervous?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm nervous about cryptocurrency deal.
You don't do it. Same with me. I don't do it either. It's speculation. I don't gamble.
Yeah. Interesting. And what's funny is I think I naturally, there's a lot of women that work in my brick and mortar pet business. And I've naturally done the same thing. I'm like, okay, I don't want to trust just myself.
For sure.
Right. So we have a 5-stage interview process to get a job just in our doggy daycare space. Right. And so throughout that process, most of the interaction is with the women on my team, and they all have to get the green light. Yes, I like this person, move on to the next person. Yes, I like this person, move on to the next person, that kind of thing. Until finally I sit down with them and I'm like, okay, they've been green lighted by several people here. And then in the end, I still go and I'm like, yeah, and I'm going to kick it back to another one of the women on my team to give me their final impression.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Speaking of an amazing woman, just Lisa Barron popped in to say hello to you and myself here, Darren.
Hello, Lisa. Great to meet you.
Today. So she's an amazing lady, owns Oak and Linen out in Toronto, actually.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. Thanks for being here, Lisa.
Yeah. So we got several people watching, which is awesome. Okay. So I wanted to dive into this. I mean, I love the integrity stuff. That's very powerful. And I've always had this vision, Darren, that like when people are building their wealth, right? Because you have a lot of investments now. You're what you would call diversified. Like there's lots of things going on in your life, right?
Yes.
So it's not like my buddy Glenn also says hello. There's Glenn come on saying hello.
Hello, Glenn.
So there's you've got this diversity portfolio now. But when you built your wealth, Darren, you and I were talking about this. I always say that wealth is like a tree. right? Everybody looks at the end tree and the branches and the leaves, and like, oh, I've got to have all these different sources of income. But in the end, the tree is built on a trunk with a powerful root system. And to me, that's about building one phenomenal massive wealth creation asset business, however you want to frame it, but something that grows up and then it blossoms, right? So I don't know if you agree with me on that particular metaphor.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, but so walk us through what happened, because you were sleeping homeless in an apple orchard in the Okanagan.
Yeah.
And then suddenly within a relatively short period of time, ladies and gentlemen, relatively short, you were making 5 to 6 figures in a month and your business was rolling. Right? So how does that transition happen? Because I mean, and I love how you told us about the affirmations, basically about why you're valuable to these companies, basically tape looping yourself and reminding yourself, hypnotizing yourself almost into your value. But how did that process happen? Because there's some activities that you were doing that were tremendous to get you there.
Sure, absolutely. One of the key things is my calendar. So if it's not structured in my calendar, there's no evidence it exists in my life. So before, when I was not succeeding, I wasn't intimate with my calendar. So I didn't have accountabilities and responsibilities. So like, for example, revenue generating activities or income producing activities. So I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do income producing activities this week, whether it's outbound or inbound phone calls, going to networking events, trade shows, seminars, workshops, conferences. I need to be out there. So I didn't structure it in my calendar and time block it or even color code it. Okay, because I'm a very visual learner. So
and did you have to like dedicate yourself? Because in the end, I mean, I see people that do this, but then it's like they willy wash around on this stuff, right?
For sure. So then the thing is have somebody else as an accountability part, like a virtual assistant or somebody you trust, to actually have access to your calendar so they actually can see it, right? So give me an example. So like one of the things right now is like, so, you know, I'm 51 years of age. Up until 48, I was never really ever in a gym before ever in my entire life. Never owned a gym membership. Okay. And then I went and summited Mount Kilimanjaro earlier this year because a friend of mine invited me to go, and I trained a year for it. Now I'm training for Mount Vincent, Antarctica for January 2025.
Amazing. Yeah.
So on November the 1st of 2023, I signed up to a group called The Starting Line out of Florida. And they are an international health, fitness, nutrition training company called The Starting Line. And Cole Taylor is the founder, and I was following him on social media. I've met him a few times in person. I'm like, I want a body like this guy. I want his energy. I want his body. I want what he's doing. I want that. That's what I want in my life. He's my target. So what I did was on November the 1st of 2023, I signed up. And then I realized I had to now put in daily habits, daily routines. Then I have to be on 2 different apps. So all my food, all my water is all entered into this app every day. So I had to go through a transition planning process for the month of November of 2023.
And that's inconvenient, right? Like, I mean,
totally.
It's not.
And I feel exposed because sometimes I like to go to Dairy Queen. I like to get a Blizzard or a hot fudge sundae with nuts, or I like to go to McDonald's and get a fillet of fish or a hot apple pie. And now I got to be in integrity with full transparency and putting that in the app and being accountable and responsible. And then every Tuesday morning, having a weekly accountability call for a whole year with my coach, Stephanie. And she's going to see all the data, right? And I can't. If I'm in this program, I'm all in. I'm full transparency. I'm full on integrity, you know, everything. So what happens is I'm going through this thing where I've got to now have daily habits, daily routines. Now, when I'm putting things into my calendar, guess what? I have to qualify and protect my time, which means I have to value things, take things out of my calendar, because now I'm going to 2 to 3 hours a day of health, fitness, and nutrition training development. Because I'm hiking, I'm doing push-ups, I'm doing sit-ups, I'm doing ab work to transform my body to get ready for January 2025 to summit Mount Vincent, Antarctica. So what's happening, so then let's take it a step further. Now with all my social media, every week I take my shirt off and have a front, side, and back photo done on my social media. To thousands and thousands of people all over the world for accountability and responsibility.
Wow. There you go.
So for from November now till January 2025, right? So 14 months, every week I will be taking my shirt off on all my social media, front, side, and back, and showing the weight on a scale every week for 14 months.
You know, what I love about this, Darren, I mean, I will check out your social media profile and see how you're doing. But it's also like, I love the fact that we're talking about success requires transparent accountability.
Absolutely.
Do you think, like, if I could reframe this for a second, when you think about your secret weapons,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I think every human being's got their secret weapons. They've got their hero power. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah.
And getting to know you a little bit here, one of the ones that I feel might be truly you is that you are fully authentic and accountable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Right? Like, there's all sorts of qualities and traits I'm sure you have, but I mean, for people who are watching this right now, guys, to get success in your life, it's magnetic. You invite it in. You see some people rocket ship for success, and you know this, Darren. You've seen them.
Yeah.
You've probably worked with them, and then they crash right afterwards, right?
Absolutely.
Like they're not actually successful. They've just reached a peak, and now they're falling off the other side.
For sure.
Whereas I think people that sustain success and they actually achieve things, like how you achieve knighthood and everything else, there's a longevity and a resiliency to their success.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, I'll give you an example. So my backstory. So see, I've made millions of dollars in Multi-Millionaire today, right? But people don't know in my 30s that I had an R9 credit rating. Now, most people say, what is an R9 credit rating?
What is an R9? Yeah.
So if you go to Equifax or TransUnion Credit and you talk to an employee at Equifax, TransUnion Credit, you Google it and research it. An R9 credit rating, or R9, is a metric, which is the worst possible credit score you can get as a metric. Like it's like lights and siren when you walk. I was so high risk
when you're walking around. I love it.
Yeah, I was so high risk that a money mart, payday loan places, even pawn shops wouldn't even deal with me. Even even money brokers, like guys that are loan sharks, wouldn't even touch me at 49% interest because I was too high risk.
The bank locks the door as Darren walks up, is what you're saying.
So I had an R9 credit rating. I went in to declare personal bankruptcy one time because I was so flat broke and owed so much money and so out of integrity in my life years ago. That I went in to file personal bankruptcy, sat down with a bankruptcy trustee person, went through all my collection notices and stuff I was behind on. Sat there and she says, okay, we can file personal bankruptcy for you. It's going to take 7 to 10 years to reset your credit. By that way, you'll be a little bit older, a little bit more mature, a little bit more grown up. She goes, okay, we can do that. And then she said to me, she says, Darren, so how do you want to pay for your bankruptcy application process? I said, well, what is it? She goes, at the time it was $1,500 Canadian. And I said, well, listen, my bank account right now is frozen because I bounced a bunch of checks. So they froze my bank account. My credit card's cut up because I got declined and I had to cut my credit card. And she goes, well, how do you want to take care of paying me $1,500 a day? I said, well, I'll pay you monthly installments and we'll pay it off over the next, I'll pay $100 a month over the next 15 months and I'll get it cleared. If you want to charge a little interest, then it's fine. We'll roll it over 18 months and I'll pay it out. She goes, Mr. Jacklin, it doesn't work that way. She goes, you have to pay the $1,500 today. She goes, who can you call? And I said, I can't call anybody. She goes, well, the telephone's right over there. And I said, listen, I can't call anybody because nobody will take or return my phone calls because I owe everybody money, all my friends and family. And she looks at me, she goes, okay, Mr. Jacklin. She takes my file folder, she pulls it up, she hands it back to me, and she says, I wish you all the best in your journey forward, Mr. Jacklin. I cannot help you today. So I said to her, I said, I don't understand. I need clarity. I said, what is that? What do you mean? She goes, Mr. Jacklin, you can't afford to go bankrupt. Because I couldn't pay the $1,500 as the application fees. Hers, my bank. I couldn't pay her professional services. She wanted to get paid to file bankruptcy.
So was that what you would call kind of like? I mean, you've had a couple rock bottom moments in your story, but that had to be one of them?
There was that one, and then also too, having my car repossessed one time. I co-signed a loan, so met these two guys at a birthday party. These guys had a startup company, and they're looking for an investor. And I thought, man, I got great credit. I'm making great money. So
this
I
was
went
before the bankruptcy stuff.
Before the bankruptcy stuff, yeah. So this is back in my early 20s. So I went to the bank, and I didn't know what a GSA is, called a General Security Agreement.
Okay.
And what a GSA is, a General Security Agreement, means they collateralize any of your assets for risk mitigation for a bank, because banks don't like risk. Gotcha. So they ask you what all your assets that you own, and then you sign a legal document called a General Security Agreement, a GSA, and that means if you default, or they call a demand loan, which they did, a demand loan on your loan, then if you don't pay, they go after all your collateralized assets through the General Security Agreement that they execute on.
Yeah.
So I was the co-signer, and then they executed on the General Security Agreement, and so they came and got my car and repossessed my car, and that was hugely embarrassing.
God, that was totally embarrassing. So how do you, like, because a lot of people have faced some pretty terrible stuff, but they're still stuck there.
Yeah.
Right. So what would you say to them if they're still stuck in that spot?
Well, the key thing is what I did from my own experience was I went to people who were doing much better than me. And I had
Okay.
an uncomfortable, honest conversation of the what so, where my life was at. I just put all my cards on the table. And I said, here's all my cards on the table. I'm fully transparent with you. This is what's going on. Here's the what so. Because otherwise we get into this vicious cycle of this story that we tell, because there was a part of me in my life where I wanted to look good and I didn't want to look bad. Image and ego, right? Want to look good, don't want to look bad. So I'd embellish things, I'd exaggerate things, tell people what they want to hear versus what they need to hear. But guess what? It didn't move me forward. I wasn't making progress.
Right.
And then when I felt that when I was just vulnerable and raw and real and authentic and scared,
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, like these people might run out the door and never see me again. But just be fully transparent, put all my cards on the table, that people wanted to genuinely want to help with me. And I found when I was fake with people and being nice and fluffing things up and not, embellishing things or exaggerating things or giving people the sizzle, not the steak of what's really going on, people are like, hey, Darren, I wish you all the best. But nobody would help me. But when I was just fully transparent, people wanted to come and help me, not rescue me, but wanted to support me.
Right.
And they would say, like, Darren, here, have you tried about this? Or what about this? Right. And so, but what I realized was that, with my finances, what really changed was I sat down with one of my mentors who I talk about in my book, Until I Become. This is a guy who met me on the side of the road. I was selling watermelon and apple on the side of the road. I was homeless, living in an apple orchard on welfare for a period of time. And I was selling watermelon and apple. I met a guy who became a mentor to me. And he sat down with me one time at a pantry restaurant in Vernon, British Columbia, Canada. And he said to me, he says, you want to become more successful financially? He said, then we're going to look at all your out of integrities and where you're out of integrity with finances and what you've given your word to and where your broken promises are. And I'm like, what the heck are you? That doesn't make any sense what you're talking about. That's weird. Yeah. And he says, we're going to look at all your broken promises around money. And he said, we're going to write it down and document it on paper, and you're going to get to work on this. And so for the next few weeks, was extremely uncomfortable. And I had to look at all my broken promises of what I gave my word to around money, saying I was going to pay somebody back and I didn't. And then eventually I did pay him back, but I never cleaned up the mess by restoring my integrity with them. And now they're upset with me. They don't want to ever talk to me ever again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I went to all these people and I went and restored my integrity and was really uncomfortable. I had to be in the fire of the uncomfortableness. Right.
Yeah.
And really be uncomfortable and really vulnerable. And I went through 50, I think there was 57 things that I came up with as out of integrities, of broken promises, broken agreements over a period of time in my life. And that was a game changer for me because I just, the weight came off my shoulders because I felt I couldn't run or hide anymore because I was exposed, right? Time will either promote your, time will expose you. Well, I'm getting exposed. And then it was so freeing to just be authentic and vulnerable and just like share with people what's really going on, what I'm really dealing with in my life. Then some of the people, not all, but some people started opening up about their own journey through life, about how they struggle with finances. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, people can relate to me. They're pouring their heart and soul out to me. Then I realized that, oh my gosh, that everybody at all different levels. Like I was with a guy just the other day, an ultra high net worth friend of mine, very, very wealthy guy. I like, how are things going? And he goes, man, I got a $3 million tax problem this year. I got to pay $3 million in income tax this year. Right. So so one thing about life is that, Michael, we're either coming for a problem, we're in a problem right now, or we're heading towards a problem.
Yeah.
But that's the condition of being a human being and realizing as business owners and entrepreneurs, we solve people's problems, just like dentists and engineers and plumbers and electricians and chiropractors, massage therapists and doctors. They're all solving problems.
Sure. Yep.
The thing is that when we're just honest with people, like when I go speak at conferences and conventions, a lot of times I get standing ovations. It's not about standing ovations. I just want to serve people. And on the evaluation forms, when people put the evaluation forms, they said, because I don't get up there, because when I go to a lot of seminars and workshops, I used to put people on a pedestal and put myself in the pit. I put people on a pedestal like, oh my gosh. And they'd be talking about some big success story. They're going on some trip or buying some car, living in some mansion or buying some watch. And I'm thinking, so listen, I'm just trying to get from an R9 credit rating to an R1 credit rating. I'm just trying to go from, in the 100s of my credit score up to 700-800 credit score.
Sure.
Like there's I'm just trying to figure out, how do I pay my rent, not 15 days late, but how do I pay 5 days early?
Totally. You're talking about soaring like an eagle, and all I want to do is just crawl right now.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out, how do I just pay my bills on time? Like, how do I, how do I have enough food in the fridge for the end of the month? Because I want to break this vicious cycle of being constantly up and down, making $40, $50, $70,000 in a month. And then 2 weeks later, I'm borrowing money from my friends. And I don't have any drugs or alcohol problems. Nothing. I just have a money spending problem. And the thing was, my values and beliefs of what money was growing up as a kid. What was my environment growing up? What did I learn about money? Right? See, a lot of times, so one of the things I do every quarter, every 90 days, I do this exercise. It's a recurring thing in my calendar. Pops up and I set time, I go hiking, is I do this uncomfortable exercise every 90 days. And I invite people as a bonus opportunity to consider doing this. The exercise is this: where am I self-aware in my life? And you take time and you take your journal and you write down, where am I self-aware? And you just start to explore your life, just like an audit. Where am I self-aware? Right? Where do people acknowledge, recognize, appreciate, praise me, where I'm self-aware? Where's my superpower, my gifts, my skills, that I'm self-aware? Then the other side of the page is, where am I unaware? What's my blind spots? Where am I unaware? What's my blind spots? And if you don't know, then you ask your spouse or partner, significant other, him or her, or ask people in your inner circle who are meeting around you, where are you unaware and what are your blind spots?
Okay.
And when you take on this uncomfortable exercise, it's an incredible journey you go through of self-reflection and self-awareness. Like I realized in my life this year when I summited Mount Kilimanjaro at 19,340 feet in elevation, I became very aware of how unaware I was to my body. That I lived in my head intellectually. I was a master at compartmentalization, but I was so disconnected from here down. I lived in the penthouse of my head, but wasn't fully present living in my body.
And that became just crystal clear at the top of Kilimanjaro when you were there.
Yeah, because I'm going up to 19,340 feet at high altitude with lack of oxygen, tremendous amount of dust, and very cold weather at minus 15 degrees Celsius, 15 below freezing. And I'm realizing, oh my gosh, that my body, I have to rely on my body. I have to praise and recognize and appreciate and love over myself. And I realized how disconnected I was from my body. And I thought to myself, then how disconnected I am from other people when I connect with them, I meet with them. I'm a master connector at building relationship equity with people, get to know me and like me and trust me, but people can't feel me. I can get up and do incredible world-class seminars and make companies tremendous amounts of money and increase their cash flow and all that stuff and produce phenomenal results. But people can't connect with me. They can't feel me emotionally.
And so there was a barrier going on there and you just weren't even aware of it.
Total blind spot, total unawareness. And people had shared it with me before, but it didn't register with me because it didn't make sense. But then when I was uncomfortable experiencing going up Mount Kilimanjaro in that cold weather and the dust and the 19,340 feet, I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And that comes down to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs of self-actualization of human growth and potential, self-actualization of awareness. Because I didn't realize this meat suit that I live in, really what I do and how powerful it is. And that transformed my health, fitness, and nutrition now to now go to Mount Kilimanjaro, now go to Antarctica to Mount Vincent, now to do E2E, Elevate to Educate, do our hiking fundraisers around the world and bring people in and create that global community that's transforming people's lives. Because I realized that once I got home, because I wasn't in home with myself. I wasn't living in this body. I was living in my head, disconnected from my human body. I was unaware.
Interesting. And so when you've got this information, Darren, like you're doing this 90 days and everything else, and you were saying to me just before we jumped into the live here that you're mapping and you're planning out your 2024, right? So what do you do with this information now? I mean, you're a very accomplished man. So a lot of people are like, okay, you set goals, you take the time to understand what you're aware of and what you're unaware of. But then what? Like, what is it we do with this information? Because information, as you know, is not really power, it's potential power. So what do we do with that info? So what does Sir Darren do? When you're mapping out your 2024, what is it that you're doing?
So I map out 2024. I'm also working on a 250-year legacy plan.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
So I can go 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, a quarter, a year, or we can go out 250 years. And I have people in my life who have 300, 500-year legacy plans that are all mapped out in specific, not general, but specific, measurable, actionable detail.
Okay. Love it.
As 3 generations of legacy. Okay.
Fascinating.
And in fact, in January of 2024, I'm going to be on 3 days with a group of people from across North America for 3 days, the first weekend of January 2024, where that's all we do is master plan our lives and
like
collaboration.
big legacy planning style. Okay.
Yeah, and all of us come from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, all different age groups, but we come together through a collective intelligence, like an online mastermind group for an all-day Friday, Saturday, Sunday that we plan months in advance and then block out those dates and times. So what I do is I have over 7,000 written goals for my life. Now, it's taken many years to write down over 7,000 written goals. Now, I'm going to share something with you and your audience that I encourage you to write down, because when you write this down and you read it, you're going to have a mind-blowing experience. And I talk about this in my book. In this book here, Until I Become, I talk about it in this book, okay? Ready for this? Most of your goals and dreams don't require your actions. Most of your goals and dreams don't require your actions.
Okay.
What does that mean to you? So I'll ask you first, what do you think that means?
They don't require my actions.
So your goals and dreams for your personal life that you want to achieve in your lifetime, most of those professional goals and dreams do not require your actions.
Gosh, I think that means that ultimately they require my thoughts more than my actions. That's what I think it means to me.
So if we study successful men and women, whether it's in sports, it's in entertainment, it's in finances, it's in business, it's in music, it's in the arts, whatever it is, anywhere in the world, most of our goals and dreams don't require our actions. What it requires is creating teams and teamwork of like-minded people.
Yeah. Okay.
With technology today and all the apps and all the websites and all the social media platforms and artificial intelligence and virtual assistants and work experience through college, universities, and high schools. Today, when I started, I didn't have any money. So I went to local high schools and asked their teachers if I could find some of their leadership students to come volunteer with me for a mentorship or work experience or practicum.
Okay.
College and universities have lots of business students all over the world that are online college universities or physical bricks and mortar universities and colleges that are teaching theory, but they want to be around people who can teach the students practical how to steps,
how to
advance forward, how to implement, right? So you get not stuck in process, but execution. So when I started, I went to high schools, college, universities, online and in person, and had students come to me for a semester and volunteer doing minimum wage activity things that I could delegate to them. So it wouldn't devalue my time. So the thing is, most of your goals and dreams don't require your actions. Now with artificial intelligence, you can get AI to actually start working on some of your goals and dreams. Mm-hmm. You can hire virtual assistants in the Philippines and India and Pakistan and other countries around the world through various different platforms and websites. And they can, while you're sleeping, they're working on your goals and dreams.
I love it. My friend Irene just popped in here. You know Irene. She was the one that reached out. Okay. She says they require your belief.
Yes, they do.
Yes. Love it. Yeah. Or I was going to say your leadership. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another thing is too is strategic partnerships or relationships or joint ventures. If you look at Elon Musk, you look at Sir Richard Branson, you look at Oprah Winfrey, I can give you a list of people. They all have strategic partnerships. They all belong to mastermind groups. And the reason why you get around people that are more successful than you is two key things. Number one is a knowledge transfer of information. And the second thing is an energy transfer.
Like a what's possible transformation.
You betcha. I'll give you an example. Let's say, you left today and you went to a shopping mall.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Warren Buffett walked in and he just walked by. He may not even said hello to you, but you got a chance to see Warren Buffett walk by. Would that have an impact on your life?
I think it'd be cool to see him in person. Yeah.
Would you feel more energized leaving that mall? It was like, oh my gosh, I just saw Warren Buffett.
Probably. Yeah, for sure.
Right? Even if you didn't interact with them. And the thing is, so when I was starting off in my life, when I would feel like I'm not smart enough, not good enough, I would walk into a public library and walk around, look at all the books because I felt. Do you ever walk into a public library and feel smarter walking into the library?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you ever feel smarter when you go to a law firm or you meet a lawyer? It's like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to feel smarter having an intellectual conversation with the guy sitting beside me on the airplane. I'm meeting a lawyer. Oh my gosh, I'm meeting an accountant. I'm going to feel more prosperous and abundant right now.
Right. Yeah.
Or you go by a neighborhood with beautiful landscape, and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel more abundance. Or I take you out in nature, take you hiking, or take you by an ocean, like, oh, I just feel so blissed out right now. I feel so abundant. Oh my gosh, I feel so grateful. I'm counting my blessings.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, because your environment has an impact in your life. So one of the things to look at in terms of success is how do you create your environment around you? Mm-hmm. What are you around all the time?
I drive around. Permission to come into your habitat, basically, right?
Yeah. So one of my properties that I have, I would drive around for 3 years, driving around that neighborhood.
Okay.
And it would be raining, snowing, all that stuff. I drive around and say, someday I'm going to live in this neighborhood. It was the British properties of West Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yeah.
I would drive around and say, I'm going to live in this neighborhood someday. I'm going to live here. And I would drive around and I'm like, someday this is calling me. And I just wanted to be in that environment, be in that proximity. I wanted to have a home in the Okanagan Valley. And I wanted to be able to, have that by design. And so I don't know how, but I know who, because if I get around people who are already living my lifestyle the way I want to live my life, I can do that. And so environment is stronger than willpower. As I talk about in my book, Until I Become, your environment is stronger than your willpower. So when you're not succeeding, what I used to do is pull the covers over my head, close my blinds, lock my door, and just cry. And think I'm failing right now. I'm not succeeding.
Yeah.
I don't want to go outside.
It would be a woe is me kind of situation, right?
People used to always could tell in my 20s and 30s when I had money. When I had money, I'd be out in public at networking events, charity events, out in the restaurants. When I had no money, I was nowhere to be found. People, Darren's having a good month. He's out in public right now.
He's here.
Darren must be struggling. We haven't seen him out in the public for a while.
That's funny. Irene says it's all about vibration. Yeah, absolutely, Irene. Absolutely. Totally bang on. Okay, so you've got so then we're mapping out 2024, and you're talking about, who's in your circle and what's in your environment. Then, so are you basically mapping out objectives for 2024 then? Sir Darren,
so what I do is
want to go and get this in my life, and I'm going to invite this person into my life, and that type of thing.
So what I do is I should have had it. I have it upstairs. I have laminated my top 10 personal promises for my life each year. Okay.
Ooh, personal promises. Everybody write that down. That's much better than personal goals. Personal promises. I love that. Yeah.
It's what I give my word to, right? It's a personal promise.
Yeah.
So what I do is I look at so we'll use 2024 as an example. In your personal life, what do you want to promise for your life? Now, you don't know how to do it. You don't know how to achieve the goal right now or the target. All it is a personal promise, because here's something to consider. Once you make a personal promise, you write it down on paper. I laminate it. I have it all over my house. I have it with me. I have a digital copy. I have it in my shower. I have it in my bathroom. I have it all over the place. So I'm constantly seeing it multiple times throughout the day. If I'm at home, if I'm on the road, I set up my hotel room, my base camp with it all the time. So I'm consistently seeing it. Okay. So it's always getting my attention. It's always
visual reinforcement. Yeah.
Then every morning I write out my top 10 personal promises in my journal. And every night before I go to bed as a daily non-negotiable habit, I write out my personal promises. I write out my top 10 personal promises a minimum of 730 times a calendar year.
Wow.
Repetition, consistency, twice a day. And there's days I don't feel like it. There's days I don't want to do it, but I still do it. Okay. Now, here's the key thing. Every time I experience a setback, a failure, a disappointment, a frustration, I go to my journal. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah, they happen. Like, everybody watching, like, Sir Darren's accomplished a lot, you guys, but he still is going to run into these challenges
all the time.
He's still going to bang his shins. He's still going to stub his toe. He's still going to trip and fall. Like, everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time, ladies and gentlemen.
I went nighttime hiking last night as part of my training. Okay. So yesterday I started an ab workout. I've never done abs before. So I had this ab workout that my trainer gave me. And in 10 minutes, my abs are on fire because I want to just reinvent myself. Right. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like my abs have never done this before. Right. So I'm in excruciating pain. Okay. So last night it pops up on my calendar that I need to do a nighttime hike for 2.5 hours. And it's snowing. Okay. And it's snow up the mountain I'm going to. This is just last night. So
I have to work. Going up to Grouse, or where were you going?
I'm here in Vernon, British Columbia right now.
Oh, you're in Vernon right now. Okay.
So I was up on the mountain last night, up by Silver Star Mountain.
Yeah, I love it. Beautiful. Yep.
And it's nighttime hike, and I'm wearing micro spikes, my winter micro spikes on my hiking boots. I've got micro spikes on.
With your abs on fire.
Yeah, and my abs are on fire, and I've committed to my commitment, my accountability and responsibility to do so much hiking per calendar week. Okay. And I'm going up this mountain last night, and I'm like, oh my gosh, am I in pain with my abs? And I'm like this. I'm like, no, you committed to your commitments. Yeah. You gave your word. It's your personal promise. And I got to the top and I sat down and I shut my light off. And I have a safety plan and I have contingency plans. So they'll say, why are you hiking at nighttime by yourself? I have it all structured. I have emergency preparedness plan. I have contingency plans. It's all mapped out. I have people who know exactly where I am, all the different zones. So it's very structured, right? So I'm very planned out. It's very done professionally. And so in case somebody's worrying, I get to the top and I sit down and shut my light off and I look around at the stars. And I just started saying, thank you so much to my body for being my ab workout today. And I just came from a place of gratitude and counting my blessings and just feeling my abs thinking, I'm sorry I put you through today. I know you've never had that kind of a shock on your body before, but trust me, it's going to be worth it over time. We're going to build stronger longevity in my body. I'm going to be take care of this incredible meat suit. And I'm going to build an incredible model of a body that's going to serve me doing great work and philanthropy work around the world and be in optimal peak performance shape. But I'm also going to serve and inspire a lot of other people in the world and make a huge contribution to people's lives. And all of a sudden I could feel my abs just kind of feeling this warm feeling of this warmth in my body. Right? Versus complaining about, oh my gosh, I'm in so stiff and sore right now with my abs. I come from a place of celebration and contribution and gratefulness.
Yep.
And appreciation.
I love it. I love it, man. That's so incredible. Sir Darren, this has been absolutely tremendous. It's been absolutely tremendous. I'm going to put up here, you guys, if you want to find out more about Sir Darren, you can connect with him here along the tickers along the bottom here. You can visit him on his website at sirdarrenjacklin.com. Buddy, this has been absolutely tremendous. So I want to thank you so much for your time. We could talk for hours about this stuff and just keep going and keep going. So I have a couple final questions for you then. So it's the end of 2024. Here we are. It's December of 2024. What's one of these big, huge 10 objectives or these personal promises that Darren has achieved in 2024?
Yeah, good question. So I've got abs and a six pack in my body. Through Link Foundation, Link Leadership Academy, and Elevate to Educate, we're now building in plans or in construction phase of 3 more schools for some of the most impoverished children on the planet.
Okay.
Brought in about another $20 million in revenue, gross revenue. Serve on go to New York Stock Exchange and ring the closing bell at New York Stock Exchange with another company I serve on the board of directors of. I've been
that's
to
the real estate company you were talking about?
So the real estate company, I've already been to NASDAQ 3 times.
Wow. Awesome.
Now I'm going with an artificial intelligence company to actually go ring the closing bell at New York Stock Exchange in 2024.
Very cool.
I want to empower a lot of other people through Elevate to Educate, through hikingfundraiser.com, through our E2E community, to be out in nature and be grounded and be present in their bodies and then be present in their relationships. Because I see so many people today that are in relationship, but they're not present. They're distracted. They're not in their bodies. They're there. They're there, but they're not there.
And I want to see these pictures of people communicating, or I see people sitting at a dinner table together, and they're both on their phones, and they're sending each other Instagram messages as their form of communication.
Absolutely, yeah. I want to be prepared for Mount Vincent in Antarctica for January 2025. I've got a number of other goals as well. I'm going to Switzerland next September, taking Tatiana to Switzerland. We're going to go hike the Swiss Alps. Tatiana was born in Switzerland, so she's always wanted to go back, and so we're going to go there. And going to do a lot more humanitarian philanthropy projects through Link Foundation, Elevate to Educate. And I'm going to bring more people with me. I want to pay it forward and pass it on. And, our last E2E event, Elevate to Educate Hiking Funders event, I had 6 people that came out to hike for the day that are now international best-selling authors that came to hike with E2E that day that had no interest, no focus, no desire. And all they did through a network of conversations of people I connected with today, now 6 months later, international best-selling authors. Fantastic. I get great joy and fulfillment out of seeing people succeed. So if people want to be around me, go to hikingfundraiser.com and come out for one of our hikes. And I'll plug you into an ecosystem and an environment that you'll get a return on your energy and return on your life, and it will multiply and expand your energy, and it will take you to a whole new level because you're around a different group of people, and there'll be a knowledge transfer and an energy transfer, and this environment you want to put your kids into because they'll feel so enriched by being in that environment. Because there's so much negativity out there today. People have so much fear, doubt, and worry of everything that's going on with the wars and all that stuff. I want to create a positive environment that people can feel loved and feel supported, because we all feel that insecurity that we're not good enough or smart enough or worthy enough at times. And we need to get around other people that feel that that feel that, oh my gosh, that I'm not alone in my life. Because we have a big mental health crisis right now on this planet, and we need to come together and connect and be in community.
Yeah, I love it, my friend. Absolutely love it. So lots of good love coming in from the comment section here, Darren. It's been an absolute slice. And I want to say once again, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Grateful to be here.
Tremendous. I think I hope everybody got lots of value. Put some love in the comment section, you guys, if you got tons of value from our chat with Sir Darren today. And my final question to you, buddy, is can we get you back on the show in the future?
Would love to. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe we'll do like a 6-month check-in. How is Darren doing on his personal promises?
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah, and I'll show you what's working, what's not working, and what I'm adjusting. Yeah. And I'll even show you what I do every July, the first week of July. I have it blocked in my calendar every year called the halftime adjustment. Just like in sports, you're in football or in hockey, you go into the locker room and you, okay,
how are we going to adjust?
How are we going to adjust? So I'll show you how you do a halftime adjustment in the middle of the year. So you finish the half of the year strong, the last 2 quarters of the year.
I'm writing that down, buddy. So we'll see if we can find a spot in July to do a halftime adjustment.
Sure. And I'll walk you through the process that we go through, and people can take notes and then apply it in their own professional lives.
Yeah, perfect, buddy. Perfect. All right. Well, Mr. Sir Darren Jacklin, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much.
Grateful to be here.
Yeah. Have a wonderful holiday season. And I'll reach out to you and we'll keep figuring things out. Awesome. So thank you so much, buddy. Let's give, here we go. Hang on a second. I've got it. There we go. We'll interview. It's been an absolute fabulous time. So thank you so much, Darren, for being on the show.
And thanks for setting this up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, that was Sir Darren Jacklin on the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle show. You have been awesome. I have been Michael Bridgman. This has been another episode of the Marketing Wizards Inner Circle. So my friends, go out there, enchant your audience, make some magic happen. Go change somebody's life. Do something incredible and amazing with yourself, like what Sir Darren and I were talking about today. And once again, massive thank you and shout out to him. It's been a massive pleasure from me to you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday, and I will see you on the next show. Ciao for now.